My favorite TV show of all time is The West Wing. In The West Wing, President Josiah Bartlet he's the main character. He has a lot of, well, I would call them famous lines, but one that he's especially known for is saying, after a stressful situation or after taking in a bunch of information, he's famous for looking at his staff and saying, "What's next?" The idea is he's taken in his information, maybe he's made a difficult decision, and now he's saying to his team, "What's next?"
What's next? Okay. What's next? What's next? What's next? Nothing? Excellent. I blew it. What's next?
We didn't have
What's
candidates.
next? What's next? And when I ask what's next, it means I'm ready to move on to other things. So, what's next? What's next? What's next? Who's next? What's 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 next? Okay, Abby says I've got about 5 minutes before dinner. What's next?
It's important to be able to move on. The reason I'm bringing this up is because this week we're into the book of Joshua, and Joshua starts out very simply. It says in Joshua 1, "After the death of Moses, the servant of the Lord said to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' aide, 'Moses, my servant is dead. Now then, you and all these people get ready to go cross the Jordan River.'" Moses is one of the main figures of the first parts of the Bible, and the fact that he's dead is a big deal. Now, Joshua is no small character, but I think it was easy for me to see that analogy of President Bartlet saying, "What's next? We need to keep going," and the way that the book of Joshua starts. A lot of times in my life, I find it difficult to move on, be it a stressful situation at work, things happening with family, personal things that I'm dealing with. A lot of times it's very easy to remember the past, remember the good old days. Isn't it the truth that a lot of times we sit back and just find it easier to just let life happen without taking action? There's another analogy this week. Last night, the Badgers played Florida in their Sweet 16 game. And anybody probably watching this vlog is aware of what happened in that Badger game. The Badgers have had a fantastic season, if you ask me. They've had a fantastic 4 years for these seniors. The Badgers were the 8th seed. They've already knocked off the number 1, and now they're playing the number 4 Florida team. They dominated the first half. Actually, they dominated the first 16 minutes of the first half, and then they really slipped in the last 4 minutes and actually gave up the lead, and they were trailing going into halftime. In the second half, they were down most of the game. I felt like they were down about 8 points the entire way, and I didn't see leadership on the court that gave me confidence that they were going to figure out how to win this game. Lo and behold, you guys probably watched the game too, but Zach Showalter hits the fantastic running three-pointer to send us to overtime. Does the belt for Aaron Rodgers. Tons of fun for everybody in Badger Nation. We go to overtime. Nigel Hayes, as he needs to do, completely takes over, going hard to the basket. He was giving us the lead that we needed. And then we take the lead with 2 points up, 4 seconds to go. Florida gets the ball to their fastest guy on the court, and probably the longest 4 seconds of Badger basketball history proceeds to take place. And in the same way where we tied the game with a running three-pointer, we lose the game by a running three-pointer, and we're sent home from March Madness, losing to Florida in the Sweet 16. I felt terrible for the team in a lot of different ways. I literally woke up this morning significantly bothered by the Badger loss last night. And later in the morning, I went to the Firefly with my kids, and I was doing a little bit of writing, checking up on some news, and I just got to thinking about the Badger basketball team. I know this is kind of a long story, but I need to find ways to make Love This Book applicable to life. I need to find parallels. I need to find analogies. And when I look at the Badger basketball team this year, I think of how bad I felt for the way that they went down, how much I wanted them to just play defense for 4 minutes and move on and play in the Elite Eight. That didn't happen. But I felt horrible for the whole team, but especially for those 4 seniors. But I got thinking at the Firefly, man, those 4 seniors need to move on. And I say that with all love and respect. I actually wrote a Facebook post that I'm probably going to turn into a blog post. You know, I'm so thankful for those 4 seniors, and I don't want them to be defined. I don't want us to define them by those 4 seconds. Those 4 seniors gave us 4 years of phenomenal college basketball. Currently, no team has won more NCAA games than those 4 seniors. And they're waking up today, Saturday. I don't even know what they're thinking, but I know they need to say to themselves, what's next? Will I be defined by last night? Will I be defined by one game? They need to figure out a way to ask themselves, what's next? They've given us so many joys. So as we move ahead with Joshua, that was my big takeaway. It's very simple, but the idea is we need to learn from the giants of our faith. We need to learn from Moses. We need to learn from Moses, but then we need to put ourselves in Joshua's position. And I do find it interesting that, following up a guy like Moses could be extremely intimidating. And yet when you listen to or read the first few chapters of Joshua, you hear how clear God's instructions were and how obedient Joshua was to those instructions. I think that's our job, is to know the past, listen to God, and to move forward. So, the West Wing, what's next? Badger basketball, heartbreaking loss, but wonderful memories. Don't forget, it's a team of men that need to move on with their lives, not be defined by one loss, but rather take your experiences, learn from them. And what does that mean for you this week? What does that mean for me? I hope you're keeping up with the readings, and I hope from this week's vlog you can just be able to ask yourself the question, what am I learning from the past, either this past day, this past week, or maybe this last season of life that you're in, and what can you learn from it? And then how can you ask the question, what's next? We'll see you next week.